Hello everyone, these reviews at night. Now, truth be told, guys, I don't know where to start with this one. I never watched the original 1960s Doogal series. I never saw the Blue Cat movie. This movie was pretty much my first introduction to the series, and to this day, I still haven't watched the 1960s original, so I'm not going to bother talking about it. All I knew going into this film was that it was made by the same creator of the Fairy Odd Parents. That alone got me somewhat excited when I first saw the trailer at about 8 years old. I completely forgot about it after I did in the theater. No, guys, I'm not kidding. I do not remember one thing I loved or hated about the film. So back then, I didn't have an official opinion. However, I saw on Media Hunter's review that this movie, in particular, was considered one of the worst animated movies of all time. When I first heard about this, I was flabbergasted. Could this movie really be that bad? Is it really as bad as everyone made it out to be? Well, because I had nothing better to do, I decided to watch the full movie. So what are my thoughts on it? Not only was it as bad as people said it was, I would go so far to admit that it is the worst animated film I've ever seen. Yes, this is not a joke, people. I hate this film more than Food Fight, Norm of the North, and the Overdue movie combined. So what's the story? A dog named Doogal tries to get candy from a candy cart, but messes up as the cart goes down an insane rate, which causes the cart to crash into the roundabout that releases an evil spring wizard named Zebat who possesses ice powers. Zebat's main goal is to collect 3 diamonds, which will allow him to freeze the entire world or something like that. So it's up to Doogal, Dylan, Brian, and Ermitrud to collect diamonds and put Zebat into the roundabout and free their friends as they are trapped inside an ice cell. So now you might be wondering to yourself, well, how can a plot like that lead to one of the worst animated movies ever made? Well, the answer is simple. Have the majority of the film's dialogue be nothing but pop culture references. In case you missed it or you haven't been on the internet long enough, this movie is actually a redubbing of a 2005 UK film that goes under the name The Magic Roundabout. Now, in some cases, when foreign media is released in the US, there are bound to be changes compared to the original version. And Doogal is no exception to this. Now, I can go on about the numerous changes this film has, but I will list a few of them as I go. Some characters, primarily the moose, who were silent in the original, were given some dialogue. Some scenes were either shortened, removed, or altered. Doogal's name is spelled Dugal. Dougal, but the U was replaced with a second O. Yeah. These changes honestly can give 4 kids a run for their money. But that's not the changes you guys are familiar with. Nope. There is one noticeable change in the US film that I believe everyone is familiar with. Say it with me, the pop culture references. Now, it's common in entertainment, not just movies, to have pop culture references in their media, so having them is not a problem. It all depends on how well they're used. This is Doogal's biggest problem. Not the pop culture themselves, but how they're used. And some of them just don't make any sense. For example, the temple scene. When Doogal accidentally spits out a gum that touches the lasers, skeletons pop up. And this is how it goes in the US version. Here's Shawnee, someone ordered ribs, bring out the dead, Pirates of the Caribbean, hey, I thought we said no Disney joke. You guys see the problem? That is what the dialogue in this movie boils down to. Pop culture references. And as I said before, most of them don't make any sense. But believe me, the pop culture references are the least of this film's problem. There's also plot holes that just annoy me. And the one that immediately comes into my mind is with Zebedee. Now, in the movie, Zebedee, the spring with the red face, has firepower. And somewhere around a little halfway through the film or so, there is a fight between Seabat and Zebedee, fire and ice. Yeah. Does anyone else see the problem? If Zebedee has firepower, something that can melt ice, why didn't he just melt the ice cell that had all of Doogal's friends in it? Or better question, why didn't he melt the ice that he was encased after his battle with Zebad? He has all this firepower, what can melt ice, and he doesn't even think about using it in the most obvious spots? Yeah, trust me, I'm just as lost as you guys are. Furthermore, why does Zebedee do nothing in the entire movie? You know how much this guy could have been useful throughout the entire film, aside from the scenes I just mentioned? Anyone else? Anyone else feeling the confusion here? And speaking of characters, oh boy. Oh boy. I use the term character loosely because these characters, to say the least, are not characters. Dougal's entire cast of characters don't bring anything interesting to the table. We only know one thing about them, and that one thing does not give any interesting insight on them. Let's go over the characters. Dougal is a candy addicting dog who's best friends with, honestly, with the little girl. Honestly, I know her name, but it is just, I could never seem to pronounce it right. Florentine? Florentine? Someone please correct me about that. But anyways, he's best friends with her, and we don't know anything else about him. Dylan is a rabbit who likes to sing, and we don't know anything else about him. Gertrude is a cow. That's it. Brian is a snow that has a crush on Gertrude, and we don't know anything else about him. And the train is just a train. And believe me, the villains don't even fare much better. They don't bring anything to the table, and are only there for the sake of having a bad guy. They're just there. Now, if you guys notice, I don't really have much to say about this movie because everyone and their grandmothers talk about how awful this movie is, and I'm right up there with them. But now I bet you guys are wondering, why do I think this movie is worse than Food Fight, Norm of the North, and the Emoji Movie combined? Well, this is just from my experience. I mean, obviously, these three are arguably worse movies, but for me, at least all three of them have something, well, not much, have something to bring to the table. With Food Fight, since it originally was supposed to be a 2002 film, at least from what I've heard, this movie at least had an interesting concept. It could have worked as well. I mean, even with the ugly animation, if the storyline actually was tolerable and the characters, were, interesting to say the least, I could care less about the animation. The concept was there. I actually did like Food Fight's concept. It could have been Wreck-It Ralph before Wreck-It Ralph. With Norm of the North, at least I can laugh how bad this movie is. And for the Emoji Movie, okay, I'll admit, the animation is nice. And unlike Doogal, the pop culture references, they actually do make sense. Because, it's in a smartphone. So again, while they're not much, they at least have one positive thing I can say for them. This is not the case with Doogal. I just cannot find anything good about this film. Lackluster animation, cringy voice acting, awful jokes, awful pop culture references, a retarded story, boring characters. You get the idea. Overall thoughts: this movie sucked. I give it a 0 out of film. A 0 out of 10. I'm sorry. No, I don't have anything to cite it with this time. This film doesn't need one. Even the worst animated films are better than this film. I don't count Ratatouille because it's not really a film since it's only like 45 minutes long. And that is saying a lot. Ninja here. This was a video that's been long overdue, and I don't know why it took me this long and honestly, it shouldn't have. But in any case, I was able to get this video off. Um, any updates I have? If you guys wondering why I'm not as active as I was back then, I think I already told you guys this in a post. I recently just got a new job. And that has been the one thing that's been keeping me back from making these kinds of videos. Now, based on what I'm doing right now, I'm not going to be working as much as I thought I was going to. I mean, back in like the last month or so, I had to work from like 9 to 2 somewhere between 9 to 14 hours at somewhere around that range. Now it kind of decreased to just 5, although on Sundays it can vary from like 8 to even 13, depending on how long it takes me to get everything done. But again, I'm sorry that this video was long overdue. There were just a lot of things just keeping me back, and I don't want to share them right now. So I really don't have much else to say. So I hope you guys will keep looking forward to my videos, and of course I'm going to start on the next script for Ninja Critic, which is of course the worst animated series I've ever seen. So see you guys later.